Bonsoir tout le monde.
Good evening, everyone.
Bienvenue à notre réunion du.
Welcome to our meeting of January 20th.
Premièrement, nous
First,
noter que nous
I would like to mention that we are gathering on the unceded traditional territory of the Mi'kmaq people, whose ancestors signed a treaty of peace and friendship with the British Crown in the 1700s. Mr. Clerk, we do have quorum this evening. So our deputy mayor is absent this evening. She's the only one. Any council members who would like to declare a conflict of interest on the items on the agenda? Seeing no one. For individuals in the room, if you would like to get translation devices, they are available.
Donc, vous avez devant vous l'ordre du jour.
You have in front of you the agenda. I would need a motion to adopt the agenda. Moved by Councillor Germaine Galland, seconded by Councillor Joël Després. All in favor signify by saying aye. Questions? Oh, sorry. Just Councillor Bouteau, a question for Sylvain. Sylvain, you had mentioned to add on the agenda, like to have, I don't know which item, if it's not this evening or maybe for the next meeting. It's not something we would add in the agenda, like with the procedural bylaw. It's something we can mention. Thank you. It would be one of my tasks.
Donc pour tous, Germaine et Joël.
Germaine and Joel. All in favor saying aye, against nay. It's been carried. Like the minutes, we do not have any minutes to adopt this evening. It's just a little bit late, so I think at one time we might have like several minutes to adopt, so that's guaranteed by our clerk. In terms of public presentation, we have two this evening. First, from Mike Sullivan. I do not see him in the room. Maybe just a matter of because of the storm. Mr. Sullivan is a little bit older, so maybe we could keep him for the next meeting. 6.2. Holy daycare. So this is a new daycare. So it's taking shape in 412 Main Street. Yeah, I think it's a good evening, Mrs.
Vous pouvez commencer. Je crois que le greffier.
You may start. I think the clerk will arrange for this. Perfect. So for those who do not know me, my name is Melissa Leblanc. I'm the director for the new daycare, which should open soon. It's a Holy Daycare. And I was asked at the last meeting if I could present like what is the project. So I have 5 slides, really quick to present. There's nothing on the screen so far.
Ah,
okay.
On pèse 2 fois pour que ça marche.
Yeah, they have to click twice. So, as Mr. Mayor said, like the building we have is it's located on 412 Main Street, so it's a former, like the house of Mr. Olivier Melançon. So in this daycare, it's phase 1 of our big project. Right now we have 3 licenses. So for each license for the province, you can only have up to 60 children per license. So 23 for only 3, like it will be like 23, like in French. Only 1 it's in French. We had after school. Only 2 it's an Anglophone license. We'll have 6 babies, 23 per schooler, and 30 like after school. We have 2 other buildings. It's for phase 2 and 3. So phase 2, like it will be renovated afterwards, is the former building for the Maritime Fishermen Unit for 10 Main Street, just behind those two buildings. We also purchased like the one on Maple Lane. It's a duplex and it will be phased three. It will be part of the daycare. So people from the it's a major need. We saw it. So we're getting ready, like trying to open like for 250 places in the daycare for the Shediac community. And it will become some like a mini campus. So we'll have the 412, we'll have like 408, and we have the land besides. We were able like to build like a playground. It will be behind the other buildings, so to have extra space. The reason that we presented and we're on the agenda, it's for Maple Lane, which is between all our properties. So at the right, it's mostly like it's our big vision. We would have one building with only one, only two, only three, and beside will be only 4 and 5. So there's licenses after. We would like also to have a lot between those two buildings, and at the back only 6 and only 7, and these would be other like places for other playgrounds to play. And we would have a green space. So the question that come up last month, it was mostly for the circulation, how we would be able like to bring the children. So the proposed plan, like the parents will be go at the back of the building. We have parking spaces around the daycare, but those who want like to drop their children quickly, we have this zone like it's a big lane, big lot, and they can park their car, bring their children inside. This way, like the zone between Saint-Anne Street would not be like the traffic would be lower. So the bulk of the demand is mostly like for the security of the children. It's always our number one priority. So we're trying to have as little traffic as possible when during like the daycare hours, and people could take Main Street and to go like to the old road, like for the greenhouse on Main Street. So that was in a nutshell like the questions, but I'm very pleased. Like if you want, I could try to answer them. At least it gives you like a visual of the mini campus, like just a bird's eye overview. So the parking at the left would be where the greenhouse on Main Street. At least it gives you like some indicators for the council members to know that which area we're talking about. There are a few questions here. Councillor Patricia Bourg-Chevalier, a great presentation. It seems to be a great project. I see there are some arrows, only 3. So would there be like no one will go through there? It's just we have a alley there, so there will be some adjustments. Once we open, we'll have to modify. We'll see like the hours, and so when the traffic is heavier, we do not plan like to use like the one on the front. One is along Main Street. It's not safe, even if there's a sidewalk. So we do not plan on using it. It's still an access we would have if ever there's an emergency. Everything should be mostly at the back of the building to drop the children and bring them back. Councillor Roland Cormier. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your presentation. So your deadline, like to open only 1, 2, and 3. When is it supposed to open? It's a question everyone's asking. Really, like right now, we're really at the end of the renovation projects. After we have to go through like all the engineers, and so we have over 6 engineers. And you would like by February, will it be the end of February, beginning of March, or really like that's what we're hoping? And I assume after 3 we'll go to 4 and 5. So no like request was made, but this is the phase of those documents. It could be years. Only 4 and 5 is 2025. As soon as we're done, we'll start the renovation. So once we get like the permits and we do the process, and we're expecting to do it like at the end of the winter or spring. So it's less it requires less renos than phase 2. There's no kitchen. There's not as many renovations to do inside compared like to the 412 Main Street. So 6 and 7 would be in 2020. Phase 3, early 6 and 7. We're looking maybe 2025 if we start like in the winter, 2026 probably. Thank you very much. Councillor Paul Boudreau. How many people hired? How many employees will be hired? There's a 412, 16 individuals will be working full time, but the daycare is open 50 hours a week, so we'll have also part-time and casual. So we will have over like 20 employees just in the first building. And the second building, only 4 and 5. We're expecting to have another four staff because this one we might have like after school. If not, it will be even more because only 6 and 7. This one we do not even look at it. 40 children, so it would mean like another 5 additional staff. So I'm prepared. Oli. It's just a short name. Like for Olivier Melançon, it was the first Acadian who built the building. So the first building was the first Acadian millionaire, I guess. A long time ago. So it could be a history building. So we're born. A lot of people were born there. You could name like I think we could name like a room upstairs like Councillor Boudreau. So we have a lot of history on Olivier Melançon, and we're hoping like we'll have a little bit of history within the building. Thank you very much, Melissa. So wishing you great success in your project and with the deadlines and all the next steps. Thank you very much.
In terms
of next item, 7.1, Shediac Business Committee, it was a letter that we did receive. So Mr. Clerk or Mr. CEO, maybe the floor is yours. It's a letter we received from the business community before Christmas, and you probably like you read it. Like it refers like to the series of crimes, theft. There's several things that happen, like unfortunate events in the community. In the case of this letter from the business community, it's really like on the theft that are happening in the businesses in our region. That what they're asking us is really to create like a process or a committee that could at least look into solutions to help with this situation we're living through, and the businesses of the region and also the citizens of the town. So I don't know if you have any questions or comments, but it's a request we received before Christmas, and we promise like the business committee we would give them an answer like by maybe after a year. So they are proposing like the Chamber of Commerce, maybe a process we could do. So maybe to have some kind of a committee and dedicated like to theft prevention, a task force. It would include like several like businesses, merchants, a few council members, and people also from the police force, etc. And it's something they would like to mention to us. And understanding the events happen, I think 1 weekend before the holidays, we had, within the weekend, they had 8 or 9 different businesses that were breaking an entrance. So it's more than just a little bit here and there. There's always some crime happening regardless of municipality, but saying like what we could do with this, but I completely agree. So maybe like we might entertain a discussion with the Chamber of Commerce and the Shediac downtown to implement this, but and give them also like a mandate to see what would be the available options Because the RCMP, there will always be a limit of what they can do, like regardless of the contract or the number of officers, they cannot be everywhere at any time. It's at least to give you an idea and to see if you had any specific questions you would like to be addressed like in this effort. The floor is yours. Councillor Alain Cormier. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, thank you for the concerned individuals. It's a really matter that's popular for now. Certainly I support a request like this one. So the technical process, do we send it to the administration so they get back with to establish a committee, or would you like a motion, an official motion, to see if we agree or not? If you're looking for a motion, I would certainly be ready to do so. If it's not necessary, it would still be okay, but we still need some action on this file. For my brief stay here, I hear constantly the business owners are frustrated because people are taking things that do not belong within their business, and they're certainly frustrated. So if we can do something try to reduce the stress, I think it would be our role to play. At this time, we would be looking for your feedback on this issue, and the administration, and Chamber of Commerce, they're in the same building, so we have we're in relation with constant communication with them, is to see if you agreed with this the proposed approach. But if it's the case, we could certainly give agreement, agree to have a discussion, because they're proposing a main line, so there will be more specification to put this effort in place. And it's one thing the administration could start, and then they can get back here to give the final overview of what we would like to do. Maybe with a little bit more details. Councillor Paul Boudreau, as you know, I'm the liaison with the Chamber of Commerce. If you, the mayor, or the administration would like to appoint individuals on this ad hoc committee, I would be ready to sit on this committee. I'm leaving it in your hands. We're meeting at the beginning of February. Just to, yes, at the Chamber of Commerce. Thank you very much. Seeing everyone, they were nodding, so I think we can understand you agreed with this. So we'll continue the work, and we'll come back with some details. As for the standing and special committees, we only have the fire protection services. I would like to say hi to the fire chief and the fire prevention officers. So these are the numbers for December. If you have any question on this report, if not, we know things are progressing, and our firemen are doing great work. We see them in the municipality, and it's great. In a sense, we wouldn't like to see you too often, but they are there, and they make sure we have the right good service on municipality, even when their sector is service sector goes outside of the municipalities. Thank you very much. Building permit report. So we can see here that the report for December, and we can see the latest numbers for year 2024, 92 millions in the building permits over the year, and you can see it's a little bit less than 20 millions for multifamily dwellings, a little bit more than 40 million for commercial permits, close to 32. So you could see a comparison. It was a record year. And so when we're above, like over, like we break a record, these are very good years, like for building in Shediac. Councillor Paul Boudreau. Bravo, Danny. And great. And I'm asking like a question on a specific project. It's not really like a specific project. I can ask it later. I will ask a question later. So 8.3, like a mayor's report. Well, I send you like some notes. I just wanted to do an overview, and of course, like the winter carnival had started, and the winter really started officially this year, but the carnival started last Friday with an evening at the Pascal Poirier Park. There were some fireworks at John Langdon's Park, so there's a lot of winter activities. They go up to mid-February, such as maybe like shows and different shows, and we have also like we have like the Valentine's Day, like under the star. I think we need to dress a bit more for this evening compared to mid-July, but if the weather cooperates, I'm sure it will be great at Parley Beach. And I was able also like to welcome, I think, beginning of January, like the Federal Minister of Environment, Stephen Guilbeault. He came here, he came to the app to make an announcement, and he had asked, like, can the staff also reach us to go to tour the solar park. So when we went to the solar park, it was a great winter storm. For something quite unusual, and the Minister of Environment is not always in the area, and he was just congratulations, like that great energy project for Shediac and for the Southeast Regional Service Commission. We received at the last meeting in December an update for the consultant Richard Saillant. He's an economist on housing, and he was talking about the recent decision for the federal government to cut in the immigration rates, which is like which is a major source of newcomers in our region. He said, in a sense, that yes, it will slow down the growth of the population in our region, but because of too big demand and then a capacity like to build a housing unit at the same rate, the fact like the demand will be lower, it will allow like the region, if they continue to build so many units at the same rhythm, it will allow the region like to catch up, and it will help also like for the housing situation in the region. But he's saying also the affordability. So the demand is still there. It's still a strong demand, but he's not expecting any changes for many years. So during like the Service Commission meeting, and I sit as a member to represent the Shediac committee. So we did multiple tax transfer at the end of the year, as we do here at the municipality, the same type of exercise. So the insurances like for the employees increase, and to align them with the municipal sector, like for municipality close to the same with the same number of employees. So we're comparing apples to apples and oranges to oranges. It's a little bit more costly. Essentially, it helps with employee retention all across the board. The Regional Service Commission reimbursed, and I think we should have received already, they reimbursed a total of $200,000 to the member municipalities, like the 12 in the region. Essentially, it's a retro due to the fact for the waste collection, because of the grant from circular material, we started like because for a while like they would pay stuff, so they reimburse what they charge us too much. It's $300,000 or a little bit more for the whole region. And the Commission also received a 50,000 grant for the regional transportation study. And it's essentially like for a transportation project, on-demand transportation project, because not needs-based, but it's like a ride-sharing program. So the program, it hasn't been approved, but the Commission already received like a grant or the amount of more than 1 million. It paid 80% of the cost to purchase about 20 minivans that would be available for the whole region, essentially like for public transportation. It's a step in the right direction. So they're hoping like to purchase this evening in 2025, by the end of 2025. And of course, like to order a new car today, we do not get it like the week after. And it will be like a program from the Commission, and it will be managed by a contractor or company that offers the same type of services elsewhere in the country. So many people were interested. So we were able like to discuss with other municipalities who already offer this service. So there are several of them, not a whole lot in the Atlantic provinces, but in other provinces. And over the next few weeks, essentially, like we're hoping to meet with several departments to discuss the priority files of municipality, especially NB Power and is our partner with the smart energy community, so with the Siemens, so that I think that's where we're at. That's it for my report, unless you had any specific questions. Any council member who would like to report on their on the external committees? Councillor O'Brien. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I would like to report to the council. So this year, as for the wall, like we didn't have any candidates for 2025, despite all the efforts like from the community life department. The committee received like 3 nominations for the Hall of Fame, and those 2 nominations could not qualify to be part of the Hall of Fame wall. A third nomination was considered, and the members of the committee voted on nomination, and the vote turned out to be negative for this individual. A discussion was held after, and the committee agreed to not to do it for 2025 because of lack of interest from the public in general. So in collaboration with the community life director, the committee committed to make the adjustment and changes, and maybe a new method to recruit and improve the process for the Hall of Fame. So this is the news we have for the Hall of Fame. Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. Councillor Patricia Book-Chevalier, I will just take a couple of seconds to talk about 2 committees. So the Crisis Center Committee was the AGM. I think a lot of you were there, and thanks for your participation. So the gala is coming up on February 15th for the Valentine's Day. I think everyone received some emails. February 8th. That's why I'm traveling like 8 to 15. I think that's the day I'm leaving for my vacation. Thank you for those who will be attending. And the Lobster Festival. So we had our last meeting, and we started to get the budget for 2026. That's where we're at. And just to inform you, like the AGM for the festival should be probably like the 3rd or 4th week of February, and there's still some vacant position on the board. If anybody knows someone like to get on board or a nomination committee, you can always reach me or someone from the committee. So that's what's happening with my 2 committees. Thank you very much. Any other committees? If there's no news, there's no news. Councillor Steve, he's not on some committee. It's coming. You should be at least on 1 or 2. Next item, like the CEO report. Mr. Léger, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of items I would like to report to the council this evening. Of course, we are in January and we're in the new year, so the administration is in full planification for the tax year. So all the project, the fiscal year, all the projects like the concert, the council looked in when they adopted the 2025 budget. So we're doing we are working on these. And as for municipal operations, like all the planning for projects like we adopted in the capital budget, either like the Beaubridge Bridge or Calder Road or so on and so forth, it will bring like some a request to the capital borrowing board. But the goal is for the next council meeting is to bring this file so we can present a request for those projects for the municipal operations. So as for community life, more specifically with the rec center, we submitted a request for several different consultants to help us to build a business plan.
A business plan to help you make a decision. We had a date after the holidays, but we did think it would be better to give some time to some suppliers. We saw that the comments that we had from potential consultants, well, found it was a tight deadline given the holidays, so we will receive something by the end of the month. There were some consultants who were interested. They showed some interest in working on that project, and we'll obviously bring it for the council so you can make a decision based on around the consultant. In terms of other studies or analyses, in terms of economic development and tourism, there'll be a market gap analysis during the budget process, and there's also the tourism strategy. We're working on those files. In terms of Plan 360, there is a resolution from the council to study, let's say, study the question of city planning services and to see if there would be some viability in finding a new partner or to start up our own planning department. We're now in discussions with a couple of companies, some consultants to help us with that. I've also spoken to the planning director for 360, and we've advised him that we are starting up that study and that we expected that they would collaborate with the various consultants to share what type of services we receive and so on and so forth. And we will bring that before the council soon. In the new year, it's a new year, so it's a new time for billing for water services. We're also going with billing for this year. We're going to increase our efforts for bad debt, as we had shared with the council last year. We have identified a strategy that we will implement to try to recover some of those costs. Now we'll come before council with any offer made to collect those amounts due. That's my report. Thank you, Mr. CEO. Any questions from the council members on the report? A question directly related to the report? For the intergenerational project, in terms of the consultants, there was 10 or 9 steps, I think, last time. What will the 3 first were well done? I think it was Luc Lugoja. He'd done a good job. The next steps were analysis, financial capacity. What will be covered and when? I would say, well, perhaps the director could correct me. It will cover all the steps. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Not 7. Not 7. 7 is the purchasing of the site, the specific site. And clearly, they have to take into account the type of design and so on and provide a recommendation, perhaps. But we're not going to buy a site. It's a question of evaluating the scope of the steps. Will you take into consideration, I know it's beyond our control, will you take into consideration what's going on in Ottawa in the federal election? Are there more, what's in-depth discussions, let's say, sensitive discussions that you will be had with that consultant. I can tell you that one of the things that we've asked from these consultants is to identify sources of financing, potential sources of financing from the various levels of government. Now, in federal politics, things will change over the next few months. With the announcement of the resignation of the prime minister and his departure, the likelihood that the report will be done by March 9 is, well, it's not likely. I understand that the political climate is favorable in some way, but ultimately, we want to prepare a report. We want to have a report prepared in the right way, not just quickly so that we have a report. We really want to properly study this question. And the consultants that have shown some interest in providing a quote, some of the consultants have some questions. We have to build a team to seek out that expertise. If it's an engineering firm, they need some capacity, some financial capacity within the team. If it's a planning capacity, if it's an accounting firm, well, they need to get some engineering services. So I think we're going to have some good potential partners here to study the question, and we'll have something to present to you. And there'll be the budget. Well, yes, and the budget we have preliminary figures. We're not sharing the budget yet. We just asked them, what sort of range are you falling under here? Yes, you're in the proper range. Continue, but it's within the budget that we have set so far. Thank you very, very much. Great. So, next, recommendations from the Regional Service Commission, Plan 360, 10.1, Habitat for Humanity. It's Lands for Public Purpose. Would like Mr. CAO would like to present this? It's Mr. Clerk. It's a quick switch tonight. A little bit of a background on this one. You will remember that 42 King lot had been given to Habitat Humanity to build housing. During that process, they decided to build two semi-detached. Well, one semi-detached, one house with two sides, so that when there's two entries, we have to have a subdivision of the lots. When the lots are registered, usually there's a lot public purpose that's given to the town or in terms of money or actual green land. So this is a community project, and we're coming back with a recommendation to simply take $1 and to allow Habitat for Humanity to simply forget the idea of lands for public use in exchange for $1, and then they could simply use the lot for their the tenants or whoever would be residing there. So that's the explanation, subject to your questions. Would you like to read it, Councillor Janice? Habitat for Humanity, lands for public use. Be it resolved that the Municipal Council of the Town of Shediac accepts the recommendation of the Southeast Regional Services Commissions to take a monetary payment of $1 in lieu of setting aside land for the creation of lots on the Habitat for Humanity subdivision plan. I so move, Your Worship. Moved by Councillor Janice Cormier, seconded by Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin. Any questions? So all those in favor say aye. Shall say aye, and contrary-minded nay. Motion carried. Thank you. So 10.2, Remco Group Incorporated. This involves our friends from Plan 360. There's an easement to be addressed there as well. Inaudible. So just to come back to it, when you subdivide the building, it's a single-family dwelling. Now there's two units. There's two services being brought to the building. When the second service was installed, for some reason, it is found on private land. So the municipality still needs access to the water service in case of emergency, so that they can shut off the water service if they need to. we're asking for a local government service easement that be identified in the plan. That's part of the report as well. I'm sorry if it's just simple resolution of accepting the easement as shown on the map or the plan. So, Councillor Jonas Cormier, would you like to move? May I? You can make the motion. I will allow it to add an easement for water to the Habitat for Humanity as shown on the plan, as per the plan. Moved by Councillor Jonas Cormier, seconded by Councillor Bertin, Jean-Claude Bertin. All those in favor shall say aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. 10.2. Thank you very much, Mr. Boudreau. Remco Group. So, Mr. Clerk, no? Is it Mr. It's Plan 360. Mr. Guillem. Yes, exactly. Good evening, sir. So you have the preliminary report from Guillem. Is it Francaise? My name is Guillem Francaise. I'm pleased to be with you tonight. Pleasure to have you here. The interpreter would like to indicate that there is no sound being heard at this time. So for the council members, just so that you'll be aware, and people in the room, this is the first step that will be part of a rezoning application. It's a presentation on the part of Plan 360 tonight. In their report, they indicate what are the council's options, what we can pick and choose to do. So Mr. Francaise will lead us through this. Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you for having me. I'm very pleased to be with you to present this rezoning application to R3. So, just to give you a bit of context here, it's an application for a property on Main Street in the borough of Shediac East, near the border with Kapakadi and the cinema. So this is for two lots. First one is for 615 Main Street. It is not subject to rezoning. And the second it's a flag lot with a very thin access to Main Street. And so only the back part can really be developed, and that would be part of the rezoning. The two properties are zoned general commercial right now, and to the south there is an R1 zone along Main Street. There are other general commercial zoned properties, institutional properties as well. In terms of the land use map, it's also defined as commercial. And there's a 3D model of the proposed housing. The development on Main Street, it would be a 3-story building with buildings on the ground floor, in agreement with the Shediac zoning bylaws. We'll talk about that in a bit. And for the southern part of the property, there'll be 3 residential buildings, 3-story buildings with 6 units per floor. And this is the site plan with landscape design. And there's only one single access to Main Street that would be based on central parking with a central area. And the residential housing would be a setback of 12 meters with the property line. That's a minimum. With planted spaces just next to the R1 zones. In 2023, the council adopted some regulations so that multifamily dwellings close to an R1 and a bit beyond the other regulations, if it maintains that requirement from 2023. As for all rezonings, the Shediac municipal plan does give some guidelines across town. It's indicated that we want to promote developing different types of housing, and in Shediac East, it is proposed that we maintain the integrity of the landscape to do make better use of infrastructure that is for planned and existing infrastructure. And it's also proposed that to put in means to make the best use of existing land while maintaining the integrity of the landscape. In terms of the zoning bylaw, the general commercial zone authorizes multifamily dwellings, but only when there are buildings on the main floor, on the ground floor. That slot is not very favorable to commercial development on the ground floor because it's in the back and far from Main Street, but its development can be authorized for R3 as long as you observe the zoning bylaw conditions and terms to be proposed by the PRAC. So to summarize, the dispositions of the bylaw make everything in the back that it would be hard to develop, but R3 could promote the developing the back of the property. The proposed development would be a partial rezoning. It would allow offering economic opportunities on Main Street, and the 3 stories associated with significant setbacks and with plants would allow to maintain the landscape and to promote the integration of the project within this context. As regards consultations, the Greater and Shediac Sewer Commission and town engineers have said that both properties have access to public water. However, the extension of the trunk line that is already planned for the sewer system should be completed before a building permit can be accepted. In terms of erosion control, the planning should be done before the property is developed. Those are classic conditions that you would impose on any sort of rezoning. So from that, the council can go forward with the public process. They can refuse the application if they're not in agreement with it, and they can postpone the decision if they don't have enough information. If the council decides to go forward with this project, there would be a public consultation related to the changing of use and future uses on February 18th, 2025. There'd be a presentation to the PRAC in February, a public hearing for the public so that they can present their arguments for rezoning and for changing the land use. And finally, a final reading could be foreseen 21 April. So thus concludes my presentation, and I'm subject to your questions. lots of information, but you went through all the details. So it's a first presentation to the council. It's for the public hearing. The process for that would be in April. So if you have any questions, I would need someone to move what is recommended here in your documentation, if you, and then we could proceed to debate if that is the desire of the council. Councillor Emile O'Brien, you want me for the motion? Yes. Just one sec. Whereas council has received a request from Remco Group Incorporated to change the zoning of a portion of the property with PID 70404348 from general commercial to R3, high density residential, and modify the land use map to residential for the purpose of building 3 multi-family buildings. Therefore, be it resolved that council review the file to determine whether it is in the public interest to amend the zoning bylaw. Be it also resolved that the clerk, in the name and on behalf of council, arrange for public notice of the adoption of such bylaw to be published within the time prescribed by Section 25 of the Community Planning Act, and that a public presentation be made on February 18th, 2025 at 6 p.m. in the council chamber. Be it further resolved that the clerk shall, in the name and on behalf of council, request to receive the opinion of the Southeast Planning Review Committee under Section 110 of the Community Planning Act by March 31, 2025. Be it further resolved that the clerk, in the name and on behalf of council, arrange for public notice of the adoption of such bylaw to be published within the time prescribed by Section 111 of the Community Planning Act, and that the public hearing be set for April 7th, 2025 at 6 p.m. in the council chamber to hear objections to the proposed bylaw. I so move, Your Worship. Moved by Councillor Emile O'Brien, seconded by Councillor Peter Breaux. I was about to say Brian as well. So, any questions from council members? Councillor Paul Boudreau. Yes. Can you explain? I thought that we'd stopped changing zoning from its when R1 was directly abutting R3 or the opposite, or R3 onto R1. The decision of the council in 2023, as Mr. Frances was referring to, was that when we have an R1 next to an R3 and that we're proposing to do it, the R3, the setback has to be greater than the building. So that was the proposal. It was brought forward by Mr. Arsenault at the time. 2 years ago now. Time passes. My next question is a quick one. So parking, is this included? I think as part of the standard for a commercial building, and there's 3 apartments behind it. Is it does it follow all of the standards? I presume it does. It seems to me that eventually there's one element in this, if I'm not saying anything foolish here, I think that it should be normally behind the property, but in that situation, given the form of the shape of the lot, it doesn't make sense to put it there, to put the parking there. My last comment, I know that you consult other departments, but emergency services and firefighters, will they have access to it? With a public building and 3 apartments, we consult them as we go, and they are present at each meeting. Councillor Janice Cormier, thank you, Your Worship. I just would like to advise I'm not supporting this request tonight. The reason is that in 2024, in the same part of town, there was a request made to change R1 and R3. When we refuse that application. Another reason I won't be supporting this application tonight is that we're still planning for the municipal plan. There are many apartments that are empty still in downtown Shediac. We have lots of apartments that are built and not filled. Even if there's commercial spaces are not filled as well. In my mind, it doesn't make any sense to go forward with this right now. I just wanted to state this publicly that I won't be supporting this application for those reasons. That's good. So on the motion, sorry, Councillor Brian, another question. The way that I see this is the application to change everything to R3. That 615 part is already general commercial. That can remain general commercial. That remains general commercial. Everything is in compliance, and it would keep apart. The goal is to not prevent commercial development in the future. Just in the back, that's where you're looking to go to R3. That one makes less sense, since it is not really on Main Street. It would be hard to have a business there. So that's the difference between the two applications last year. In my mind, these people, it's not quite just like that previous one. They're going from general commercial on Main Street. It's not exactly like the previous situation that Janice was referring to. I find it's a good project. I will certainly vote for it. Thank you, Your Worship. And as we know, the principle of city planning is next to the commercial zone, that's where your multi-residential will be, as opposed to single family dwelling. In terms of the basic principles of city planning. So, based on this, as regards this motion that was moved and seconded, all those in favor shall say aye. Contrary-minded, nay. One no. It is carried. Thank you very much. Next item, diamond windshields and more. If we want more, what would you want more than a windshield made of diamond? Thank you, Your Worship and Council members. It's a similar request to the one we just saw. Is to move to the next step. And it's a very similar request. It's a flag lot that we want to rezone into residential in the back and keep the part in the front as general commercial. So I'll go through the presentation quickly. Just to say what's similar about these two projects. It is on Main Street, close to diamond windshields and more. It's behind 559 Main Street. You see the property identified in red. You see the Rue Germaine just to the east with single-family dwellings that are relatively close. There's Bellevue just right next door, and the old Midnight Video to the west, and this one right across. So it's a flag lot. And the same thing, the existing zone is general commercial, like the neighboring properties, and the zoning is back. It's vacant lots. It's R2. So the request is it's a bit less dense than the last one. It's one building of 13 units, 2 bedrooms per unit. It's a classic model, 1 floor with attached garage. I don't have elevation plans. It's a row house style. The difference is that there are 13 units all attached in the form of a C, and there's an access that makes a bit of a roundabout, if you will. So to set the stage, there's also a diamond windshield right here. You see behind, there's a single-family dwelling. Do you think these are 2024 photos? And you go back a bit in the back. You see where the red arrow is, the existing access. It's where they want to build. It's the same challenge. Multi-residential is allowed on general commercial, but as its main, it has to be above the ground floor. That's why a rezoning application has been made, and also request to change the future land use map. So there'll be a public hearing, and it requires the approval of the minister to close this out. And whereas zoning general commercial is preferred along Main, this particular property requires another approach. It's a flag lot, and the usable part is far from the street, and it will allow some residential development, somewhat higher density, that's close to Main Street and other properties. And you can proceed with the public process. You can refuse the application and you ask for more comments. And the time frame is similar. Public hearing on April 7th and public presentations February 18th. Thus concludes my presentation, Your Worship. Thank you, Mr. Robichaud. Councillor Joël Després, would you like to read it? Thank you, Your Worship. Whereas Council to modify any PID and commercials from general commercial to R3 high density residential and modified land use map to residential, to allow a one-story multi-unit dwelling with 13 units. Therefore, be it resolved that Council review the file to determine whether it is in the public interest to amend the zoning bylaw. Be it also resolved that the clerk in the name and on behalf of Council arrange for public notice of the adoption of such bylaw to be published within the time prescribed by Section 25 of the Community Planning Act, and that public service presentation be made on February 18, 2025 at 6 p.m. in the Council chamber. Be it further resolved that the clerk shall, in the name and on behalf of Council, request to receive the opinion of the Southeast Planning Review Committee under Section 110 of the Community Planning Act by March 31, 2025. Be it further resolved that the clerk, in the name and on behalf of Council, arrange for public notice of the adoption of such bylaw to be published within the time prescribed by Section 111 of the Community Planning Act, and that the public hearing be set for April 7, 2025 at 6 p.m. in the Council chamber to hear objections to the proposed bylaw. I so move. Moved by Councillor Joël Després, seconded by Councillor Janice Cormier. Any questions on the motion? I see a few. Councillor Ronald Cormier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, Phil, you mentioned earlier one of the reasons, like we need like a reason, but rezoning, it's not the only reason. One of the reasons was it was considered like for the Main Street. It's only my opinion, but you are the professionals, and everybody's entitled to their opinion. It's stretching it a little bit, like on Main Street, saying that it's on Main Street. I would say like the car wash is on Main Street. It's located on Main Street, but this business is behind the car wash. I know the entrance is on Main Street, but don't you think it's stretching it a bit, or because we're looking for a specific definition? So maybe what you mentioned is it's a good reasoning to justify the zoning, because it's a flag lot and there's a front on Main Street that the access will be on Main Street. It's why, like technically, it's on Main Street. I don't know how wide it is, but nothing can be built on Main Street. Like to build like 19 meters wide, it's a little bit like wider than a typical lot for the minimum width. I will support this, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Bourg-Chavary. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If we look at the picture, when we see like a diamond windshields,
Oh, moi, je la vois un petit blanc plus grande.
I see it a little
L'entrée,
bit
là,
bigger. So
se
the entrance,
Le cimetière.
it's on the
Ah,
dirt
c'est ça,
road.
l'autre côté de l'enseigne, là,
So it's just like the other side of that, the
Mais
sign.
partie qui a passé au feu, là,
But the part that
c'est
burned,
pas gentil. Ça,
it's
c'est
not
plus
part of the
la-
project.
Non, on va porter, ouais.
OK. Donc, l'entrée serait en l'enseigne.
So the entrance would be between the sign. Thank you,
Conseil Paul Boudreau.
Councillor Paul Boudreau. Earlier, I referred to similar requests. Earlier, there was a condition, like they said, for the famous trunk line.
Non.
Is it this one here?
Donc, il n'y pas la ça va dans différentes zones ici.
So it goes to a different zone. Thank you. That's all, and it's a good project.
La même région de la ville, mais c'est
It's the same part of the same region of the town, but not the same pipes. On this note, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Contre non.
Against nay.
Adopté. Merci.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Demande de rezonage dans l'avenir.
So we will have rezoning requests in the future. Unfinished business, we had nothing, but under new business, we have one. 12.1 invitation for the Crawfish Festival. So the Crawfish Festival, so Mr. CEO, like can you give us some background background information? I will take that one. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We received a letter. Mr. Mayor received a letter like before Christmas from the mayor of the town of the city of Beau Ridge in Louisiana. And of course, there is a twinning with the town of Beau Ridge and the city of Beau Ridge. In this request, it would be to invite the town like to go more in depth with the twinning, like to go in Louisiana to do the protocol signing. Of course, last year, like a delegation from Louisiana came to the Shediac festival to officialize the twinning that's been in place for many decades. But of course, like they're going a little bit farther in their request, so they would possibly invite like an Acadian artist like to perform on the scene like during their Crawfish Festival. Jointly with them, like the Shediac Festival from the Crawfish Festival, like so they're making a joint request to have like an artist like to present. So we're not in the business of organizing like shows or to attend a festival, etc. Like and of course, like we prepare like a briefing note to see like what type of benefits we would get like to send a delegation to sign. And of course, like as I mentioned, like it's been for several decades. Several decades we had like a twinning with the town of Beau Ridge, and I think we should look at what type of relationship we would like to have and how we would like to manage our twinning with this municipality in the States. What type of exchange on a go-forward basis? It might be an opportunity for us like to create some kind of product like a protocol of agreement, how we will manage our twinning in the future. This being said, well, for the first request, we prepare like a budget to see how much it would cost to send like a delegation to the festival. But of course, like with the other part, we're not really comfortable like to make a recommendation. But we had some discussions with the Shediac Festival to explain to them like what kind of involvement they could have in this twinning. Of course, it brought like a request we have in front of you from the Shediac Festival to look into this. I cannot answer like the question, but because it's not our request, I can only talk about the recommendation for the municipality to send a delegation and the fees that would be associated with it. I don't know if you have any questions on the request for this one.
Moi, ce que je vais ajouter,
So what I would like to add,
à la suite des discussions entre
like following the discussion, like between the two festivals, like the Lobster Festival and the Crawfish Festival in Beaubridge,
on avait pu faire une visite là.
we were able like to visit in 2023, and the idea was to have a presence,
renouer nos amitiés.
just to renew our friendship, because the players change from since our last visit, because our visit goes back to the 80s, to see like if there was still an interest like from us or them. Like it was a smaller delegation we sent, and we had people from the Lobster Festival that are here this evening, and they were there with us for the same reasons, to explore this. And we were able to promote like the 75th anniversary for the Lobster Festival, which should be held in 2024. And we launched the invitation to the municipality and people in the region to say, please come in and just visit like our cousin, like because they're all from Acadian descent. And if you came in 2024, one of the municipal, Beaubridge Municipal Council, Eddie Leblanc, and he speaks French also, because of course he's a Leblanc, they're everywhere, but we were able to see like how to renew this friendship, because we met only for a couple of days before. Now we see that the municipality would be interesting in welcoming us. It's more than what we got in 2023, because in 2020 we took the initiatives, and the Beaubridge municipality is interested like to continue this discussion and continue with this twinning. So it's something we could go through. It gives you a little bit of background. And we have a motion. The delegation of the municipality and for you, and you also have like the background from municipalities. I would certainly someone to do motion like, and before we go to the questions. Councillor Patricia Bourg-Chevary. Whereas the twinning partnership with the city of Beaubridge, Louisiana, has been renewed during the 75th anniversary of the Lobster Festival in July 2023, whereas an official invitation from the city of Beaubridge, Louisiana, has been extended to the town of Shediac to participate in the 2025 Crawfish Festival. Therefore, be it resolved that Council approve the administration's request for a delegation from the town of Shediac to participate in the 2025 Crawfish Festival. Be it further resolved that a formal twinning protocol to guide our partnership be developed and signed by both municipalities. I shall move, Mr. Mayor. Moved by Councillor Bourg-Chevary, seconded by Councillor Jean-Med-Galland.
Sur ce, question.
This note, questions. Many. Councillor Roland Cormier. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just maybe a clarification, like the motion for the motion is quite broad, because we're saying, mentioning like the municipal councils approving a request for administration for a delegation from the town of Shediac to participate in the festival. Is it in our notes? Is it what the clerk or the CEO, sorry?
Comme il n'y a pas de chiffre, il n'y a pas rien.
There's no numbers, or is it a delegation of 4, 2, 20? Is it a budget for 20,000, or was there a budget presented?
Le troisième document.
I think it's the third document for the town of Shediac. So we see it on the screen. So
Je m'excuse.
Donc, essentiellement, une délégation de 4 personnes.
Ok.
Donc, c'est
Monsieur le maire,
essentiellement les 4
So
personnes
essentially, like
qui associés.
c'est correct.
for individuals.
Ça détermine pas qui les
So
quatre
it does
personnes
not
que Monsieur le maire
say like who those 4 individuals. I presume like Mr. Mayor would be there. I hope if he can make it, of course. We're hoping Mr. Mayor would be alive, or as a mayor, you should be there. So how do we manage if we approve the resolution? Like how can we choose like the 3 other members who will represent the municipality? We will go back to the council, and I would like to get more clarification before to vote. Yes, I understand this is your answer, but it was not established. Do we presume? So these are like 4 council members? Not necessarily. It could be staff. If I remember well, Mr. Mayor, at least 1 member from the administration
donner de l'appui, puis
to give some support. And
c'est sûr que je peux peut-être ajouter, évidemment.
So maybe we could add, of course, like if the council want to go forward with this request, we would start the talks with the town before at least trying to negotiate like some kind of protocol and to see to talk what we would like to do.
On arrive là, on a déjà peut-être un framework de prêt.
We already have that, like a
discuter puis négocier
a framework or something like a.
Ça, je peux t'y prendre pour acquis que
could I
to
see chances are would be a mayor or someone from the administration and 2 other councillors? It could be. It depends on the availability of. I said, I'm interested, but I'm not available. It is noted. So, Mr. Mayor, if I vote on this, so I can consider like it will be Mr. Mayor, someone from the administration, and the councillor, if they are available. If I vote yes, I think you can interpret in terms of the intention. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Peterborough, just a clarification. If we accept this motion, it is not in relation like with the artists for an artist. Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Paul Boudreau, it's the same question Peter asked. It's all, so we'll not address like the request because it would be a factor even if I vote yes or no. So why 4 individuals? So why 4 individuals for 4 days? So what will they do like for 4 days in the southern USA? I support like the director of economic development and tourism. So to make a recommendation, so we'll work within the budget recommend 4 people. We do not have the name of those 4 individuals like and certainly someone from the administration like to help the 3rd individuals, like we have a flexibility, so it might be someone from the lobster festival who will help us in this file. But this question wanted to go through the budget first, and I would like to have a recommendation who's going there and who could negotiate with them before we start. So maybe we're asking you to approve a budget up to this amount with the numbers we discovered. We are presenting to you, and this way, well, we have the freedom like to make some progress on this file. It might be less expensive if we're only 3, so I agree with you. To recommend 4 so we can prepare the budget accordingly. So the reason I was looking for that budget is related to those individuals, like 4 individuals I did for like except for the vehicle location, so it's a little bit costly. So I have a question on the Pascal Poirier House, agricultural development. So the budget budget will come from which, where are we taking the money from? Because
Ça serait considéré un projet spécial du conseil.
it would be like a council special project will be part of this file.
La motion était pour 4 personnes. C'est ça.
So the motion was for 4 individuals, so it's not flexible. So this is the motion.
Vous voyez, la motion mentionne pas le nombre.
So the
de
motion does not mention the number of individuals, but the budget is for four person.
Le conseil pourrait
And the council could
pour mettre un montant
modify, like to have an amount not exceeding
qui
X amount of money. So it would dictate ultimately, like we have to readjust it.
Une autre question, les membres du conseil-
Another question, like the council members, why is the money not taken from the account? If the council member wants to go to Louisiana, this is a delegation. It's more like than the regular account.
$100 par membre du conseil. Donc, ouais, 1100,
So per council member, so 1,700, so it was adjusted.
un peu comme les délégations qu'on envoie.
It's a little bit like the delegations were saying, like to the Canadian Federation of Municipalities and the Francophone Association of Municipalities. It's above and beyond like the regular budget. So we did not establish a special budget for the Beaubridge delegation. So that's why we would go into the council special project. So my concern is
Personne va faire 4 jours.
for individuals, 4 days
Un protocole d'entente. Si
to
quelqu'un-
sign like a memorandum of understanding. So I think it's allowed essentially. Well, and I can talk out of my experience. So you are there like first like to build relationship. It will be a little bit different compared to 2 years ago, but it's to go there for to represent the municipality in the meetings with the municipality of Beaubridge, and it will include maybe with the Chamber of Commerce of Beaubridge. It was one of the participants like 2 years ago.
C'est pour apporter cette.
It's to bring this, to talk about the time of Shediac for our twin city.
Des gens sans autorité, des gens des élus.
Like people in position of authority, like the elected officials from the municipality or the public. So if we go like 3 individuals, like to
N'importe quoi de nouveau, parce qu'on arrive-
we bring something new when you bring there.
Avec ça.
Here I have a little bit hard time. Thank you. Thanks for the clarification. Thank you.
Conseiller Emile O'Brien.
Councilor Emile O'Brien. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Moi, ma question est, c'est pas.
So my question is, it's a simple question. So
président
the letter, like the president of the festival, like he sent to the town, there's a budget, like under this letter. Does it have something to do? I just want to make sure I know what I'm voting on.
Évidemment, c'est le budget qui est sur
Of course, it's the budget on the screen.
envoyé par le président.
And the letter that was sent by the president with the budget, the attached budget, it would be
Si le conseil voudrait augmenter.
it would be if the council wanted to increase the delegation to send possibly an artist. Like it's just like a forecast, really.
Moi, je peux pas te parler du budget.
I cannot talk for the budget for the festival because we did not prepare this budget. So what I'm looking on my screen, like on the screen, it's not necessarily on my screen. So
Je veux juste m'assurer que je vote sur le bon budget.
I just want to make sure I'm voting on the right budget. Are we talking about the budget for the town of Shediac? So this is the request from the president. It's not what we're dealing with right now. So
On s'assurer qu'on parle toute la même.
we just want to make sure like we're on the same page.
Nous, on vote, OK, on vote ça qui était le tantôt. That's it, right?
Là, ça sera le temps.
Le suivant, ça,
Celui-là.
oui, ouais. OK. Non, c'est bon, chez moi, merci.
Évidemment,
Well, I'm
vous voyez
good.
qu'il y a
And of course, like you see, there are 2 numbers because there are 2 different airports and the transportation fees are different from one to the other.
voyageurs en auto.
Maybe more like a travel by car versus like to land very close to Beaubridge.
Aimeriez-vous un peu de clarification de la part du
Would you
festival?
like to get more clarification from the festival? Maybe I find it might give a little bit more information.
Ton micro est
I would
pas-
like to get, your mic is not on. So
Je me demande juste, il suffit qu'ils sont dans la salle. Moi,
since they're in the room, so
ça me
maybe
donnerait l'autre
it
partie.
might give you the other part of the picture, like we will not be voting,
Plus d'explications.
and at least we would be more explanations. I would invite Mr.
Venir faire une-
The president just to address us, like say a few words on this.
Je comprends. J'allais
I
juste
understand.
simplement que vous vouliez
I
m'ajouter
just
un
wanted-
du temps, puis regarde,
I cannot take some time.
je sais quelle opinion, là. Donc, Monsieur Hergé,
Mr. G.
On veut parler, puis on ne peut pas parler. Il demande à
We can talk. We're asking a guest.
Tu nous as demandé si qu'on voulait parler.
You asked us if we wanted to talk. Well, go ahead. Thank you.
Moi, je suis d'accord qu'il parle.
I agree for him to
Mais
talk.
finalement, je pense qu'on devrait
But
revenir
Mr. Mayor, I think we should solve this problem.
sur la table.
There is a motion on the table and it was moved and seconded.
Ils ont eu un débat.
People had a debate and there will be a resolution one way or the other. And I would certainly be interested to know like what the Lobster Festival would like to have as a sponsorship or partnership after, but I think we should vote before like we have the presentation. One has nothing to do with the other one.
Moi, je propose qu'on vote.
So I move that we vote. Can I ask you a question? Like
Hergé,
to
là,
pass?
c'est là que c'est rendu. Là, je-
That's where we are.
Monsieur Cormier.
I have Mr. Cormier as a counselor. He's asking to go to the vote.
Un, deux, trois autres personnes qui avaient
One, two, three other individuals who had asked to talk before.
Cormier, c'est d'accord qu'on laisse-
So, Mr. Cormier, would you agree? So we let those three individuals talk?
Problème.
Thank
On
you.
reviendra après, monsieur Hergé.
We'll go back
Donc,
to it, Mr. Haché. Next
Monsieur
one.
Conseiller Jean-Claude Martin.
Counselor Jean-Claude Bertrand. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would support like one employee and with you, Mr. Mayor, like
Ouais.
for to go there.
Hein, weird. Ah ouais, tout va. Conseiller Janice Cormier.
Councillor Janice Cormier. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So what I understand, we are approving this budget, but we can still make a decision to see how many wants. It doesn't mean we're going to send four.
Budget pour quatre.
It's a budget for four. That's it. But we can decide, like we can change the amount
Viendra
afterward.
pour désigner les gens.
Once we designate the people after, like
Tout de suite, on a besoin de savoir. Est-ce
right
qu'on
now,
veut
we
envoyer
need to
une
know, do we want to send a delegation?
propose un budget
The
qui
administration
permettrait
proposing a budget for
qu'on
four
veut
people,
ensuite, lorsqu'on vient choisir
but
nos
when
délégués,
once we choose our delegates,
la deuxième personne,
either
on
one
décide
person, one, two, or three person, well,
le budget en conséquence. Mais
we can
le
adjust the budget according to, but the
le
budget is for four individuals. The one being proposed up to four, but it could be
c'est
less.
ça le désir du conseil.
It could be less if it's the wish of the board. And the wish of the board, so when will we discuss it? When we're talking, once we're talking about the delegation, is it something it's not something we're decided this evening.
On amène ceci pour vous
We're
ce soir.
bringing this this
Dans les
evening,
discussions,
but
peut-être par la suite,
in
on
the
le
discussion, well, between the administration and the municipality of
on
Beaubridge,
n'a pas vraiment besoin de quatre, on a juste besoin
we
de
do not
deux,
need
on a-
four, only maybe
peut-être
only
aimerait qu'on
two.
amène sept, mais
So maybe we'd like for us to bring seven, but might say, no, we're limited to four. Another thing, I'm not sure if you're following the protocol, like, you know, the president of the principal, the president of the festival to talk to us is for information purposes on this matter. And they have knowledge of the same subject. It's a delegation from council. It's what we're voting, so there's nothing else, like, I do not understand. Are we within the norm? The administration can give some background, the mayor can, and other individuals, so it does not have an impact of the, you do not think there's impact, but you don't see it right away, it doesn't mean that there's none. You do not see the impact. I understand, like, according to you, there's no impact, like with the festival. Because we're asking for a delegation of the municipality, but I do not understand, like, the relationship, and I'm not sure, like, unless I'm wrong, like I don't think it falls into this category.
OK.
In my opinion, it doesn't drive, but
Monsieur DG?
our
Évidemment, on a reçu une demande.
CAO, of course, we receive a request from the city of Beaubridge, but the request for city of Beaubridge was send a delegation and maybe like to participate within the festival. But the global request, that's what it is.
Le twinning.
It's the twinning of
Jumelage avec la signature.
the twinning with the signature and to send a delegation to activate like to bonify their festival or to highlight like an Acadian artist at the Beaubridge Festival. So this was the request from the city of Beaubridge. But of course, it's not a world we're in. Like we had discussion with the Shediac Festival to see because they had like this, they got the same request as we did. Maybe it's not the same request, but it's all interrelated one way or the other. So we prepare a budget. We prepare like the benefits, like to send a delegation, and the Shediac Festival submitted a request. If we want to do the other side, they would be managing this, not us. So that's why it's two different piles. But it's still for the Crawfish Festival. But I think the Shediac Festival should be at number 6, a public presentation to talk what they're asking for. Here we're doing like a sliding, I think, and do not relate. I think we're just sliding something with something we approved, and I think we should have like a public presentation, and the festival could have talked what was the request. But right now we're just having another request with a motion that has nothing to do with it. I apologize, but if it's perceived like this, it's not our intent at all. Like it's just like those two items seem to be like they weren't the same matter, so that's why I do not want to I'm not accusing anything. Like I don't know if some are supporting me or not. It's your interpretation. Like we did not invite them to the public presentation, and we want to do it with this motion. So can we vote on this motion before the festival talks? As I told the Council Committee, a couple of individuals asked to talk about if they agree like, to do it, and then we would go back.
Parfait.
Councilor Patricia Bourg-Chevalier, I understand what Yves is saying. Like there was two like requests in the letter, and I think the amount, the amount 2, 3, or 5 might be answered with the involvement of the town of Shediac. If it's only go there to sign a document and come back, I know we do not need like 4 people to go there. But if we want to maybe like respond to the invitation from the city to go to festival that would have a key, like a booth, and we will work like and we will be working with the city. I understand like 2 individuals because we went and we had a very, very busy schedule and we do not have the same request. I see if we go a little bit more with more, then the signature might need more than 2 individuals. I think one goes along with the other, but I kind of agree, like maybe we should treat them like separately.
If we don't have any,
if we do no participation, it's only to sign the agreement. Well, it's different. So maybe the motion should say like we're limited to a budget like for 17,000, and that would be the maximum budget, and we'll do what we can. If we need 4 individuals, well, it has to be within the budget. So the number could be established, like what would be like the result of our participation to the festival. No, I was following you. I think you lost me in your last 1.5 sentence. But if you want to modify the motion,
Ces chiffres-là,
You
Monsieur
put a
le
number to
directeur,
those
c'est des
numbers.
estimés, n'est-ce pas?
They are
Les chiffres-là
estimates.
sont des estimés.
So these numbers are estimates.
Évidemment, toujours mettre un montant n'excédant pas une certaine
Our recommendation to put amount in excess beyond a certain amount. We did check the flights as of a certain date. It could change. It might be that those tickets are no longer available and we'd have to go for something else. To make things a bit easier, a budget not any higher than 20,000 for that scenario, that would be something that we could navigate to make sure that we'd have a delegation under those conditions. If we do need a 4-person delegation, it all depends on the level of participation required. Okay. No, it's not 17,000. So would you like to make an amendment to the motion? Oh, well, I would make an amendment. Before making the amendment, you don't have the right to speak yet. I want to challenge. She has the mic and she has the right to propose an amendment. I will decide if the amendment is admissible. So I would propose that we have an amendment to have a maximum budget of $20,000 for a delegation from Shediac to Bow Bridge. So I have a proposed amendment for basically the same motion, but that it would indicate that the budget be a maximum of $20,000. Do I have a seconder for this motion, for this amendment? Seconded by Councillor Germain Galland. On the amendment, are there any questions? Just on a maximum of $20,000. Councillor Leonard Cormier, Your Worship, just now, I was very tolerant. Thank you. I made a motion. And you asked me if I could ask the other colleagues if they have something to say. And I allocated my motion, I set it aside. Now, and my colleague has the right to make amendments. But I think that it was my motion that should have been dealt with first. You had to, we should have asked the council if there was a seconder. If there had been a seconder, I had nothing to say about here. Maybe there would have been a seconder. I was tolerant. No, I'm going to allow my colleagues to ask their questions and see what they're worried about. Then now I've just been blindsided. That's fine. But let me let you. I'll have you know, Your Worship. Next time you ask me to be tolerant, I will unfortunately not be so. You have you're in your rights to ask. I was generous. I wanted to allow my colleagues to speak, the right thing to do, in my opinion. And now we have another amendment, and that's fine. But I just want to say that the way that we've managed the situation, I'm not comfortable with it. You can come back to your motion, your initial motion, after the amendment. All the amendment does is it adds a line or two, basically. The motion is on the floor. No, he hasn't provided his motion. My motion was to vote. To go to vote. So on the amendment to limit the budget to a maximum of $20,000, all those in favor shall say aye. Contrary minded, nay. I will redo my sentence. All those in favor, raise your hand. 3. Contrary minded. The amendment is defeated. So there's no maximum, basically. Your Worship, I would ask that we vote, that we move that we vote on the recommendation of staff, on the staff recommendation. This I move. And the motion was moved and seconded, and now we're at now we're debating. Yes, basically. So perhaps there's a bit of division. All those in favor in the proposed motion that proposes a participation in the twinning ceremony. See the budget on the screen. All those in favor, raise your hand, please.
Le vote a été demandé.
The
donc
vote
on va-
was requested, so we're going to vote. On a point of order, Mr. Boudreau, when you request the vote, you have to vote.
L'amendement a été défait.
The amendment was defeated. The amendment was defeated.
Il y avait
Inaudible.
la motion initiale.
The initial motion is based on the budget before you,
Clarification.
by way of clarification.
Tous en faveur.
So all those in favor, raise your hand.
1, 2,
1, 2,
4, 5,
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All those against.
1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3.
Motion adoptée.
Motion carried.
Merci.
Thank you.
Est-ce que les membres du Conseil désirent une présentation de la part des membres du festival?
Would the council members like to have a presentation on the members of the from the festival members? Your Worship, I'm interested in seeing what Mr. Hache would have to propose. I am in agreement.
Information.
It's simply
Il
information.
n'y a pas de motion sur
There's no motion
cette partie-là.
on that part of things.
Monsieur Haché,
Monsieur Hache,
bonsoir.
good evening. Thank you, Your Worship, and council members. I'll have a little presentation for your information. For several years, we've been working on the agreement protocol with the MOU, Memorandum of Understanding with Bridge. We started by doing research. We went to go. It's just my notes. And there's nothing to hide. It's my grocery list next to it. He's used to have a laptop. So we started those steps about 4 years ago. It's been a lot of money and travel and expense devoted to this for something that's significant that would lead to things. And the objective of that trip, this trip, is to finalize the discovery phase that we did in exploration to see if there's willingness or not on our end, if there's a willingness, and we determined that both sides are very willing to work together. So the next phase will be more strategic in terms of determining what is the objective of this memorandum of understanding. So if we're going there as a mission, we're going there to meet people from the festival, people from the municipal government, business people, community members. We're going to have breakfast with people. We're being hosted. We received the key to the city last time. I don't think it goes into any doors, but it looks nice on the wall. We received an honorary certificate, honorary citizens of the town of Bridge. There really were many people who went and came see us. The idea is to have opportunities for exchange and develop them between the town of Shediac and the town of Bridge, but it's not really specific to the Lobster Festival. It did start with the festival, and we're going to see if there's opportunities for school exchanges, opportunities for commercial discussions, opportunities for exchanges between seniors from here and there to create ties, to create travel groups, to develop tourism here on the part of the Louisianans, and the people who might want to visit their cousins in Louisiana because they have the chance. It's a big project. It's a big idea. We're not going to sign a protocol. We're going to do many other things. It's part of the strategy that we wanted to develop. We want to develop the market for the Lobster Festival and other markets. And the simplest one, the low-hanging fruit, was municipality, with which we had a winning agreement. So we want to develop this to see how we want to manage this and develop new things in the future. So that's what our discussions. That's where we're at this point. So we're preparing ourselves to do the strategic portion to see what the municipalities would like to receive. That's the idea. We'll see what the town would like to do. The idea is to create a partnership with the town of Shediac as a festival, to have an exchange with the town of Bridge. We can talk about a band, etc., involving the band, the town. We're talking other topics that the festival can't discuss, exchanges and many other opportunities that we could see in the future to develop those things. That is why there's a discussion between the festival and the town of Shediac. I'm here to answer your questions. I have lots of notes, but it really wasn't following the flow of the discussion, so I adjusted. I skipped lots of things, but I can answer your questions if you have any.
Parfait. Merci.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Haché.
Si les membres du conseil avaient des questions,
Do the members of the council have any questions for Mr. Haché?
il a déjà répondu. Jean.
He's already answered it.
Ben, dans ce cas-là, je vous
There you go.
remercie
Well,
beaucoup.
thank you very much and have a great evening.
Excusez. Conseiller
Pardon me,
Chevalier.
Councillor Patricia Brooke-Chevalier. Yes, it's a question for your worship. When will we cover this
La
request?
question encore.
I hadn't asked the question
ce soir.
yet. I want to see what the result was for tonight, but I don't have anything planned just yet.
J'ai noté qu'est-ce qui était les
I have noted the dates
festival.
for the Crawfish Festival. But I mean, the request from the festival, we don't have a date where we're going to address the application. It will be brought before a future council meeting. Can we ask the question to the president to see if they have a deadline?
Certainement, tu peux y poser.
Well, you can certainly ask him that question.
Une date limite que vous
Do you have a
cherchez?
deadline that you're looking for?
La réponse habituelle, c'est
I would imagine everybody is answers sooner than later. We're looking for funds to reduce the cost of going to Louisiana. So we have a request before the province for $10,000. We have a partner in Louisiana who's looking to provide 1,000, looking for other funds as well. And they have some partners in the community of Shediac and the business community who could possibly join this effort and provide some money for some publicity and to be part of a delegation. There's lots of things in the works. There's timelines to access money. The $10,000 is for the next application that you will be covering. We can only receive that amount if we do bring an artist, and it's because it's $10,000 to promote an artist. So you see how these two things are related. Is this a good answer to your question? Well, yes and no. When would you like the answer? What's the deadline? I know you're expecting some answers from somewhere else, but will we covering this in February or March? It's a good question. They're waiting answers from us because there's some programming that comes with the festival happening in May. They're waiting for us to say if we're going and how we're going. Because if it's just a municipality going, or if the festival will also be on stage with an artist, and then the province will come tell us if we have money. Well, if we have money, we have to tell the province we're going to use them or not. So yes, there are many applications waiting on us. So as I interpreted it, sooner rather than later. So we'll bring it to the agenda next meeting. We may well do that. At least people will have the chance to receive the information and know the file. We can make a more enlightened decision then. Councilor Cormier. Thank you, Your Worship. Mr. CAO, Madam CAO, Mr. President, does the festival contribute to the expenses for the $34,000 request? Is the festival partner in that, or do they asking? I know you're asking the province some money, but you could be asking the town as well. Is the festival a financial partner or an organizational partner? A logistical partner and all those types of things. We are a logistical partner. We're not looking to invest money into this. We're a nonprofit organization. We're trying to manage our finances in the safest way possible. So we're trying not to budget for this financial year. We had a really big year last year, and we're dealing and finalizing with things from last year. We're finalizing our finances. For now, we're looking to plan things with the town as a partnership and look for money from other sources as well. Thank you. But it's our employees making the steps to apply for the grants and with the province to go seek out new money. There's some work. I'm not sure how much Julie put in for planning, but there's lots of planning, but non-financial. But lots of there's many hours of there's lots of people power. Thank you.
Okay.
Everything okay?
J'ai été pour le petit bouton puis il a disparu.
I went to hit the button and it was gone.
Yeah.
Great.
Prochain point.
So next item, number 13, request for information by council members. One or two? Councillor Peterborough. Thank you, Your Worship. Two requests on my part. The first request, we spoke about the strategic plan, that Shediac is a lovely place to live and do business, but we have many people who are moving here, who have moved here. There's people with reduced mobility, they're in wheelchairs, and they can't enter into some businesses in Shediac. I think that there's some of those people who have spoken to me, and they've made some requests from business owners, but these business owners haven't reacted. I do believe that it's good for the town of Shediac to send a request to the Downtown Association, the Greater Shediac Chamber of Commerce, advising them that if we want to encourage people to shop in our businesses, that they should be accessible to people with reduced mobility. And I think that it's the least we can do. If the letter comes from the town, it will have more impact. If it just comes from rather than just coming from one person. That's the point I'd like to raise. I'd like the town to do some follow-up on it. We're taking note of that. Thank you. Second thing is related to Eco 360. I saw that when it would come into effect, that the spring and fall collections will no longer exist. People will be able to put one item on the road, by the road every week, every 2 weeks, a chair, a sofa, what have you. But here's my question. When you do a big cleanup, you know what people put by the road? It's just, you see everything. Lots of things. It's good. It cleans up the town. But here's my question. How will people get rid of those items? Will they be able to put them in a box that's equivalent to the size of a piece of furniture? It's going to become... You can't put it in the blue bag. Yeah, it's during the clear bag day. You can put one item, one large item. So one large item is fine. But if you looked at the spring and fall collections, there's a lot of stuff by the road. And that will still be happening. And that will still exist. What will people do to get rid of those items? Basically, one item at a time every 2 weeks. So you can put a piece of iron by the road. If it's 4 wheels, it'll take you 4 weeks to get rid of them, or 4 collections. But in theory, that's it. It would be the equivalent of a box with smaller items that you can't put in your bags. Well, I don't know. I'm not sure what the equivalent of how many small items is equivalent to a large item. That might be a question to ask. I think the question should be asked, because I think in the spring we're going to have a problem. People are going to put stuff by the road, and the town will be stuck picking it up. Or let's not wait till the spring to settle this. It's not overly clear. It says you can put one item, but one item, when you look at what people put by the road during the spring and fall collections, this will not solve things. I think we'll have more problems. People are going to put stuff by the road, and the town will be stuck picking them up. I'd like staff to check how we can manage this with the Eco 360. There should be something, an option beyond just putting one item at a time. Mr. CAO, well, to answer your question, clearly the contract was granted based on what was proposed. It was presented in the way that in the future, that's how the special collection would happen. Instead of 2 or 3 weeks per a year, it would be every 2 weeks. You can put one item for a limited special collection.
est-ce que, comme Monsieur le maire a fait,
your worship, you had 4 rims to put out. You have to put it out every 4 weeks, or is it one item? We can certainly ask that question to clarify things. What does one item mean? Is it one fridge?
L'équivalent d'un frigidaire.
Or is it the equivalent of a fridge? Or the equivalent of the space taken up by a fridge? We can certainly ask those questions. It's also not the only way for people to eliminate large items. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. There's Ecomobile. There's Ecomobile. Eco Depot Mobile. It's, I think it's there 4 times a year, 3 times. 3 times a year. People can bring whatever they can bring items, large items, and dangerous items like batteries, paint cans, products that you wouldn't put in a regular bag. There's also options for residents to go directly to the dump in Moncton to get rid of their items. We understand that there'll be some hiccups in the start. The Commission will do a public awareness campaign with people. It's not only a Shediac issue. This is going out to all of Southeast New Brunswick, except for Moncton, Riverview, and Dieppe, because Moncton, Riverview, and Dieppe did not participate in the program. But I will share with you that Dieppe and Moncton and Riverview no longer use special collections as they did before. It's a very similar model to what will be implemented with this new system. For Dieppe and Riverview, Moncton, they have a rotation every 5 weeks. I think you can put up to 3 or 4 items, large items, but it's a reservation system. You have to reserve for the special collection. You can't just put it by the road. Here, we can just put it by the road. We can ask the question for clarification, but basically, those are the trends for the overall region in terms of special collections. And it's something that you see in other municipal jurisdictions elsewhere. But Dieppe Riverview are operating exactly as we will be operating. And that's the full region. And Dieppe is working like that. It's not just, they've been going like on that tack for a very long time. I go to Dieppe and you don't see large items dragging around for months. When the change is done, are there some growing pains? Perhaps. It could happen. And then we'll ask Eco 360 for some clarification and a proper public awareness raising for our citizens. Great. You want me to do it us to do it like this? That's great. For Eco Depot Mobile, they come to the Arena Festival 3 times a year. Before, it was only dangerous goods, paint, and something that you couldn't put in your garbage or in special spring or fall collection. They came either at the arena, or I have done it before at the Big Lobster at the Rotary Park a few years ago. And they're still offering that service, and they're offering it more frequently than before as compared to their former system. When we hope, this is our hope. Councillor Paul Boudreau, several points. I'd like some updates on some projects. We spoke of the trunk line just now. How are we advancing on that? I don't know who to ask the question to. Bob, Eve, the budget's in place, the timeline? Mr. McEwen, at this time, we've just received the 90% of the plans. It's nearly done. In about another month and a half and 2 months, it should be all done. And if all the other details are aligned, we can go to call for tenders, and the construction phase will start this year. Is this on the cycle trail? Yes, it's in parallel to the cycle trail. So if it's the cycle trail is very popular. There's would be in a public awareness campaign. It's a very often used. So that will be undertaken before any machinery is on the ground. Please. There will be a communication plan. Thank you.
L'école anglophone.
The English language school. The province has not announced anything yet, so the ball is in their court. It's coming, as I understand. The Squidok Industrial Park. Is that a done deal? The Squidok Industrial Plan? The contract has not been signed. I have not signed any contract as mayor of the municipality. Discussions are in the final phases, I would say. Would you agree, Mr. Director? It's a good question. Before Christmas, we were exchanging emails with the appropriate department to do all the transfers. There's still some details to be set. Nothing really big is changing. It's legal, administrative details, loose ends, as you would say, that everything is included in the contract, and we'll put it before you for signature, Your Worship. And the agreement will be before you to be approved. That's when we'll have news. So just now we spoke of the importance of updates, the importance of culture and heritage. Pascal Poirier House. Is there anything moving on that front this year? It hasn't been open for 2 or 3 years. What's the plan? I could give you a bit of an answer on that. It's not a file. It's not a file that I've worked on since my arrival. I know that the former CAO shared a list of the priority files. It is on that list, in the top 25 priorities that should be covered in 2025. I wish my director had been here. I do believe that we set aside some money to do some maintenance, some landscaping, stuff like that. But I don't think it's foreseen that to go further than that. I'd like to be able to say more, but I haven't had a chance to work on it. No, the strategic plan often talks about culture and heritage. Could we get an answer on that before long, in terms of what will be happening with that? Many questions from the other. So the Ohio Road, what is happening in terms of that development? The development, Mr. Paul, it's private development, first of all. But in terms of what the plans are, what will be there, I don't know. Does Mr. CAO, does Mr. Director know? You're aware that we're aware that there's directors there. A developer bought the land. He's looking at his plans right now. He's working with the exact current zoning. If he doesn't make any change for zoning or make any application, we have nothing to bring for you. When we already get a building permit, there'll be another item. We can look at the plans. Thank you, Danny. Beyond that, we have nothing to report. I know that we talked about it. It's still zoned commercially, right? Yes. I asked for the data related to radar. Since December. On which street? Bro Bridge? For all of them. No, it's for the not the trails. It was. I asked in December. Has it reduced speed? Our stats showing that speed has gone down. The experts analyze this. I don't know. I do remember, Mr. McEwen. We extracted the information. That's the step we're at. It has been sent to a traffic engineer that we're working with, and they're starting the analysis. Thank you very much. Can you tell me
which period they're looking at? I'm just being curious. We have the capacity to look. I think we have like a full year or something like that. Because if you have so much data, like when it's over a long period of time. Thank you. And one follow-up or update, like for the like the LJR school, like what type of work, like with the Sylvain, or is it only a ventilation or an extension? It's a major announcement. Essentially, it was, if I'm not mistaken, like is to complete the work that was initially supposed to be done is to complete what they were not able to finish. But the details, I'm not aware. But we could get some information. But the school district, thank you. Just the two last item, I think. We'll also get a former council member like Jean-Claude Bourque. We should maybe recognize him because he worked for an interpreter for a very long time. He was our interpreter for a long time. He was also a provincial candidate. So maybe to talk about Jean-Claude, another Bill Beliveau, he was a great volunteer. I think he ran for the council in 2016. So he was a great volunteer for Shediac and the 10th Remark Senior College. So it's a great citizen. But good news, when my colleague on my right, he's running for the ACOA member. So Jean-Claude, congratulations, the co-op movement. Thanks for your patience you're having with me. Thank you. Public meeting, so that's. I thought you were because he won 649, but. Councillor Roland Cormier. I will try to make it a little bit shorter than the Councillor Boudreau. I will try. We did not have a first meeting I think they saved all of them for this meeting. So, Mr. Mayor, I asked the question in December or the end of November, there is an environment committee to put in place, and we change a few members, and I'm wondering also, Mr. CAO, I know you had some meeting with some members, and I'm wondering where we're at, for if not a first meeting, because there was already there was done before we came in. So where are we at? I can tell you, yes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, last week I had a meeting with two of the committee members to try the committee's mandate, the history of the committee, the meeting that was held. It was a great meeting to get familiar with the file, and it's not. I did not get a book on the history that was left to me for a trust interest. So I was able to know the question of the two members, but of course I discussed with the mayor. So we're meeting on a weekly basis for the next steps we would like to check. I have no specific answers for this evening. It's okay. It's just I wanted to mention just to make some progress on the file mentioned by Councillor Beaufort. You talk about the communication plan with 360, for the new forum, for every 2 weeks, for the special collection. If you have the power to suggest 360, there's a show, it's a a talk show. If we could have if we could suggest someone to be invited, there's a lot of our citizens that they listen to this religiously every day. But if we could have an employee or a specialist would be able to talk about this, I think it would be a good information, all those information are interesting and a lot of substance, but this one it was even at a higher level. Councillor Bourque-Chavary. So this is my suggestion. So the industrial park, if you continue build on Paul's point, I'm hoping Mr. Mayor, we bring it to it. I understand we have to bring this file to the to approve it, but there are still some questions, and it might be information in terms of a contract, but I would suggest that we could have a private briefing before we go to the next step. And I encourage you, but I will not decide this, but thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Mr. Councillor. Next item, 14. 14.1, permanent closure of Maple Lane. You? So yeah, it's in fact, so we had the first and second reading this week. We're with the third reading for the bylaw number 70, and it's to close Maples Lane for all the reasons mentioned, and the presentation from the early daycare, it goes in the same sense. So we have a resolution, and it's a motion presented. So we would invite you to, of course, to read it if you wish to do so, so we can proceed to the third reading of this bylaw. Thank you, Mr. Councillor Després. I saw you push your button, so you will. Can I ask a question before I read it? You can ask the question after that. The bylaw. I will start again. That the bylaw entitled bylaw number 70, a bylaw relating to permanently stop up and close a portion of Maple Lane, be read a third time by its title. I shall move. Moved by Councillor Joël Després, seconded by Councillor Germaine Galland. First, I support the request, but I'm looking at this and I think 14.1 should be with 15.2 because we accept to close this lane and we vote on this. What happened if 15.2 does not go through? Essentially, it removed the public designation of this street. Because one goes along with the other in the sense it's for the good of the project, but these are two different actions, and one is a bylaw and the other one is only a motion. So that's why they're in two different sections. Can I add something? After the third reading, the bylaw has to be registered with the province. If the motion would not go through, there's always an option. The motion can, the council can go back and cancel the bylaw we made. But in a sense, one has to be done before the other, after the third reading. So that's why we're coming with the agreement this evening, because in a sense, we were able to agree with the individuals who would like to take possession of the street, the lane, or... Yeah. Thanks for the clarification. Yes, I shall move. Moved by Councillor Joël Després, seconded by Councillor Germaine Galland. Other question? Councillor Lacombe. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, thanks, Melissa, for doing your presentation. In December, I was one of the council. I was asking a question that I did not get a whole lot of answer. It's good, you were able, to explain this project. Now that we see the project, it does not make any sense, but it makes more sense now. So I would like to congratulate you. But sometimes we bring something and it's not clear. So what I would encourage is to have more details at the beginning. Because I have to be honest, I voted for the first one, the first and second reading, with the intentions with voting against it. I would certainly support this great project, because if we can have additional space in the municipality of Shediac for the children, not mine, but someone's children, I see nothing wrong with this. Congratulations and thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, Mr. CEO, it may be to add, and it's always the wish to bring a complete file to the council. But in the discussion with the owner, they really wanted to see the file to be brought to the meeting. And of course, like we shared that we did not have all the details. We were not able to answer all of them. That's why in the discussion, the owner came this evening to help facilitate this information sharing.
Sur ce,
On this note,
on dit oui.
all in favor signify by saying aye.
Non.
Against nay.
Té.
Motion carried.
Monsieur Greffier?
Mr. Clerk,
Arrêté numéro 70, un arrêté relatif
a
à la barre
bylaw
de
number
façon
70,
permanente
a bylaw like to
de
close permanently like a portion of Maple Street in Shediac, that to accept the third reading of bylaw number 70 by its title, moved by Councillor Joël Desbré, seconded by
Janice Cormier?
Councillor Janice Cormier.
Question.
Questions?
Tous en faveur, on dit oui.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Against nay.
Adopté. Merci.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Passons aux motions et résolutions.
We'll go to motions and resolution.
La première qui est
The first one,
de la surface multisport.
the multi-sport surface from Paul Boudreau.
Conseiller Boudreau.
So I will let the Councillor Boudreau to give you like the background of the before we proceed with the motion. No problem. Like probably all the council members are aware because it was different opinions, like to recognize like the builders and to recognize like the individual we were dedicated to new installation. So we met like Germaine and Patricia were with me and Mr. Galland. So it comes to this motion. Given that members, Mr. Foucault mandated the members of multi-sport service committee to bring recommendations to council to develop recognition sign, and whereas committee members have met to discuss various options, therefore be it resolved that the municipal council accepts the following recommendations. A, that a sign be developed to recognize and thank the installation committee members, Omer Leblanc, Eugene Bridges, Paul Boudreau, Roger Galland, Germaine Galland, Patricia Bourg-Chevary, and Raymond Cormier. And that a signs be developed to recognize and thank the following volunteer builders in the field of team sports: Roger Galland, Omer Leblanc, and Maurice Léger. Be it also resolved that the administration be mandated to develop the design, location, and associated costs of these two projects, that committee members share project results with members of the municipal council for deliberation. I would just have a comment after. Moved by Councillor Paul Boudreau, seconded by Councillor Emile O'Brien. Councillor Boudreau. Just I can be like the director has a very good idea to develop this option, but also to add eventually to the guys, it's a very good idea. So I'm looking forward to see what you will be proposing to us. Thank you. Thanks, council members. Any other question? Councillor Janice Cormier. Yes, Mr. Mayors, I'm just wondering, like, I'm really proud of, happy with what the committee came with. Did everybody agree? Was it unanimous? Everybody were happy, so we will not have, no one will come after to see, well, it's not what we were looking for. Is it the case, Councillor Boudreau? So the last line, like, explain, like, your council. So I will see, like, what our direction team will propose to assess what like the colors, the pictures, and then you will have the feedback if you're happy. It's always like the council has a last say. It was more like for the individual. So. As I mentioned earlier, like, thank you. Councillor Patricia Bourg-Chevary. I have a question, but maybe to add to Councillor Cormier's council. So there was one person absent that when we discussed the options for this one, so the four individuals who were happy. We agreed with what was what we came up with. And my question, though, was, I'm not sure I'm reading the last part of the resolution. Will the result come to the committee, and then the committee will bring it to the council? So the committee will see it like the cost and
Leur gratte-ciel, là,
Ben,
la
c'est
tonte,
ça,
là.
là.
to give their opinion, because we still have like
Exact.
people like
Parfait.
C'est beau.
Non,
for the
sûr, ça.
Paul and Germain.
Tous
So
en faveur, on dira oui.
all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Contre, non.
Against nay.
Adopté.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Et 15.2.
15.2.
Maple.
Maple Lane transfer.
Greffier, DG.
Mr. The clerk or CEO.
J'ai perdu. Ben voilà, donc on vous a présenté dans un sens
So
un
we
peu
presented a bit like it's a project.
Disons que Mélissa et moi, on s'est
Let's say Melissa and myself, we had many discussions since the beginning. Like we're trying to make progress on this project as fast as we can for the development and for the town to be in a good position. So there were two ways of doing this. You saw them in your kits, and one is to transfer this line or this lane to the developers or the company who own the owner. The option one was retained. So a transfer that would be done for $1, and the lawyer's fee involved will be paid by the company who is taking possession of this line. So this is the option that was retained. And by the way, like Councillor Cormier, I just want to make a parenthesis. We know we have a new team at the town of Shediac. There's a lot of people in a sense like they were not involved from the beginning in these falls. It's one thing we're trying to change. We're already developing like a checklist of things we will have to do before we can present those files. And we are working with lawyers from the region to establish those things. It's one thing that's important for us. It's clear for you, but also for the town. Like at all times, the decision we are taking and things we are trying to do follow like some kind of step to make sure everything is in order. Mr. CEO, we have something to add. It's just to add to what the clerk mentioned. A file like this one, like the complexity of this file, will not only impact the clerk. Of course, it will have an impact of the municipal operations director. It will impact also the director of economic development and tourism, the clerk, myself, and even like the finance director. So we noticed that the mechanism we are using to process this file might not be like adequate, but we saw maybe we might have like to create a mechanism or check and balance to make sure like those steps are not set aside. And of course, it's like the council is playing an important role. So we just want to make sure at the end like we're okay with this. So when we close the file, like all the steps were followed. Like the clerk mentioned, some files like they might fall through the cracks, or they might have taken more time, but we really want to find a mechanism to ensure those files from now on, they have a clear mechanism when we have those requests, so we can use like a process that is well established. So we have a resolution presented to the council to transfer like the Maple Lane to the owners of the holiday care. And once the resolution is read and presented, then you'll be able to ask questions if you have any questions. Councillor Janice Cormier, if you'd like to read it. Maple Lane transfer. Be it resolved that the municipal council accept the administration's recommendation that Maple Lane be transferred to the owners of holiday care. Be it also resolved that the municipal council authorize the administration to negotiate the agreement according to the terms presented. I shall move, Mr. Mayor. Moved by Councillor Janice Cormier, seconded by Councillor Joël Després. Questions on the motion? Councillor Després. Mr. Mayor, I have a question for concerning Sylvain. So the discussion between Melissa and told Sylvain she wanted to go forward like option number one by saying you, Melissa, simply copied like the text I sent her in the letter that you had previously. So of course, this is it's yes, saying yes to option one. It's the answer we have to keep in mind. But it means if you modify your text, it meant like they would pay like the legal fees and the transfer, the $1 transfer. So am I clear? Yes, it answered my question. Just wanted to make sure. So by sending the letter, I have a text in the email they received, and the emails was saying like that transfer would be done for $1, and the legal fees would be paid by the Holy Daycare business. And when Melissa sent the letter, she sent it in her answer. So it's the same answer, but it sounds as if Holy Daycare paying $1 and we pay like the legal fees, but it's not the case. Holy Daycare is taking care of the legal fees. I have another question, Mr. Mayor. I support this request 100%. It's just to clarify, like since I've been at the council, we purchased some land. We paid for land purchase. The value it was worth. Is it usual? Is it a common practice, like to give our town land like for $1? No, it's not current practice. It's no common practice. Mr. Pellerin, I might be able to answer in terms of precedent. Like if you look at it was a small street, it was a public street, and was causing us problems like to snow removal, and it was adequate for 2 days equipment. For us, it's almost like it's almost a blessing. We're doing an exchange with people who do a great development. I think it's an asset. In this case, we saw like some land and properties for $1, and usually like these are future streets like we took possession of that were not like we did not need as a municipality like this street. For those reasons, like there was a precedent, and we would have no problem to recommend this to the council for this transfer. You do not foresee any problem in the future, like someone will come and see us, like you gave it to them, and I think we have to rely on principle, like they will meet like some conditions, like we will not like transfer like any land to any condition. Like in this case, like it's a great project, and this alley like it's not very busy and not very used, and it's causing problems like in terms of the engineering team, like for snow removal and the maintenance. But really, in this case, it was a win-win for everyone, and I think this is a situation. Thank you for your comment, Council. If you look at the presentation made by Billy, so certainly, like for the college approach, what she's bringing to our downtown, it's really like a need for our community, for us. So we have no problem working with those business individuals to make sure like they succeed. And I think also for the safety of the children, it's better not to have a public street there. And certainly, like the norm, like $16 per square meter we buy and sell the municipality. But in this case, for us, it's easier, like because of the legal costs. If we look also like just the snow removal, and now it's a liability also for this road. So to answer your question, well, some people will approach like to have everything for $1, but they need to have a reason. So thanks for your presentation, Melanie. We're looking forward for your project. Just to add, so the director is fully like okay with the interpretation. At the end of the day, like the council decides what they want to do with its asset. So each case, even if we make a recommendation for one, it doesn't mean we'll do the same recommendation. Like each decision will be taken like individually for each council, depending on the situations. So thank you. It supports like a daycare project. This is the region. In the past, like we did rezoning simply for a daycare, because otherwise like the rezoning would never have worked out. nobody need. There was a need. It was for a daycare because we need daycare spaces in our region. Councillor Janice Cormier, just to make a comment, I would like to echo what Councillor Cormier. Bravo! It's a great project. It will be a nice corner. I was always wondering what was the only daycare. Thanks for clarifying this, and I'm really happy. It's not the Paul daycare. So keep up the good work. Thank you. Thank you for retaining Councillor Cormier's suggestion.
On reste plus des turbulence. Donc, sur ce,
on this note, all in favor signify saying aye, against nay.
Adopté. Merci.
Carried. Thank you.
Nomination committee ce soir.
We have no committee appointments and simply a motion to
Conseillère Germain Galland propose la-
Councillor Germain moving the adjournment of the meeting. Thank you very
Et la
much.
prochaine réunion va être
Next
le
meeting will be
lundi de février.
first Monday of February 3rd. And have a good evening.